We've grown 50%, but we are finding that as you grow, cash flow is a problem.
As you grow, cash flow becomes a problem. Now, when people say things, here's what we want to train ourselves to do. This is a new question we want to ask whenever you hear something that's a limit in yourself or anyone on your team. The question you want to ask is it possible to be in that business and grow without a cash flow problem?
What's the number one obstacle business owners face in growing their company, and how do you solve it? My name is Mark Pasha. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Robbins Coach Training. And in the next 6 minutes, we're going to see Tony Robbins helping a business owner named Shane to break through the limiting factor that was stopping his business growth. We're going to start with Shane standing up to ask a question at Tony's live seminar called Business Mastery. And we'll see that within one short conversation, Shane's business obstacle was turned around. Let's go.
My name is Shane Knight, and I'm in the fire and water damage restoration business. My dad started it, and I joined him about 3 years ago. And we've grown 50%, but we are finding that as you grow, cash flow is a problem. And so we're here to figure out how to grow another 100% this year.
So I hear you're in the fire and water restoration business, and he said, as you grow, cash flow becomes a problem. Now, when people say things, here's what we want to train ourselves to do. This is a new question we want to ask whenever you hear something that's a limit in yourself or anyone on your team. The question you want to ask is that really true? Because so much of what we accept is controlling and limiting us. Because as the business grows, then cash flow becomes a problem. Is that really true? Is it possible to be in that business and grow without a cash flow problem? One of the first things we want to uncover is what is the chokehold on any business? It's always the owner's what? Psychology or skills. First challenge is he already believes there's a limitation to the business, so there is. Now, by the way, there might be in his current structure, but there's no limitation to their growth. There's limitation because he's bought into it. You want to ask yourself, when someone says a limitation, a limiting belief, is that true? And then your brains will immediately say, of course it's true. You could say, really? You have all the information to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you keep growing, that you'll have less cash. Do you have all the information to know for sure that that's true?
No.
No. Then it's not true. How do you feel, Shane, when you believe the thought that the more we grow, the less money we're going to have?
It's frustrating because you put so much work into it.
Yes. And when you feel that frustration, what else do you feel? What do you start to believe?
Stressed out.
Stress out? What else?
And you feel like, why are you putting all this time and effort into it?
Do you all hear that? You feel stressed out? If he believes that the more we grow, the less cash we have, then it gets him frustrated. He feels a bit overwhelmed. He starts to stress out. He starts to think, why do I even put my energy into that? What will that do? It's going to kill the energy that would make this gladiator strong enough to win anything. Can he afford to have this drained out of him? Yes or no? In a competitive world we're in, yes or no? Pretty soon he's going to lose the driving force that makes him successful and makes his family successful. And why would I want to put more into something that's only going to include more failure? Ultimately, what do you start thinking about the business when you believe that? What do you start thinking about the business? Tell me the truth.
You start thinking about other businesses you could do.
That's right. Which, by the way, that might be useful. If it's really true, when we investigate thoroughly, that there's no way to grow this business profitably for things that are outside our control, then he might need to investigate other businesses. Are we supportive of that, yes or no? But only after we first investigate, is this a psychological or a skill limitation as opposed to an environmental one? So if that thought didn't exist, that growing equals no cash and no profit, you would feel what?
Empowered.
Yes. By the way, how many can hear the difference in his voice right now? Say aye. And in that empowered state, what would you go do? Tell me what you'd go do.
Specifically?
Yeah. Tell me 3 things you go back and do that you know would grow the business and help its profitability.
I would go sell the big insurance companies that I'm been afraid of selling because I didn't think we could handle it.
Ah, interesting. What would be the advantage in that?
Well, it's much better to have one large corporate customer than chasing 10, 12 dozen different sources of referrals.
And what if you had 5 quality large customers, not just one, so you were never dependent upon somebody that might then take away your whole business? or 6?
Then we would be 5 or 6 times larger.
Yes. More to manage or less to manage for you in terms of that client-based management?
Depends whether or not I change my style.
Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen, give him a hand. So what's the second thing you do?
I have an elite high-end brand I want to create, and I think that would be a great opportunity to grow.
Tell me the third thing.
I'd hire someone to do the most of what I do during the day today.
And what would you pay him?
As much as it took.
That's right. What do you think it would take to have somebody really impeccable to do the stuff you do during the day today?
80 or 90,000 a year.
That's right. So how much business how many clients or accounts would you have to get to pay for that person so you'd have freedom to do the more strategic things that really matter?
300 grand a year, which is a third of a giant client.
So a third. So you could go get one client and be free forever, and that's all it would take.
That's right.
This is what I love about you guys. Every person in this room has already got the answers they need. The problem is you've got some unconscious, invisible barriers you don't even know are there. You got the answers or you can find them. He knows exactly what to do to grow this business. We transform this, you can create freedom. We transform this, you're going to own your pride at another level. You transform this business, you're going to have your economics transform, which will give you other resources to give, to share, to enjoy, to explore, to discover, to make a difference with, to create new things with. The whole game of business, it's a spiritual game. You know what it's about? Taking the invisible thought or desire or idea you have and turning that into reality. Give them a hand, ladies and gentlemen.
So you can see a short conversation took Shane from feeling it was impossible to grow without losing cash flow to having a solid way to grow his business by 500%. So how did we get there? Tony showed Shane how to make 3 big moves. So let's break it down and see how it works. The first move is find the unspoken assumptions. If a business owner is feeling disempowered, you can bet that there's an unspoken assumption they're accepting without knowing it. And this unspoken assumption is limiting their growth. Here's the thing. As a business owner, your job is to break down the limitations holding you back. So the question to ask yourself is, what am I accepting about my business that's controlling and limiting me? When you find that limit, you can work with it. Here's what Tony told Shane.
He already believes there's a limitation to the business, so there is. Now, by the way, there might be in his current structure, but there's no limitation to their growth. There's limitation because he's bought into it. You want to ask yourself, when someone says a limitation, a limiting belief, is that true?
Next move, challenge the unspoken assumption. Henry Ford said, if you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. Whatever you believe, you make it true. Shane's belief that business growth equals negative cash flow had probably cost him a year of growth at that point. So Tony challenged Shane's unspoken assumption.
Of all the information to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you keep growing, that you'll have less cash. Do you have all the information to know for sure that that's true?
The bottom line is, if you haven't examined a business limitation in complete detail, you have no way of knowing whether or not it's true. Instead of getting into the nitty-gritty and solving the problem and breaking through, you start believing that the problem is necessary, and then it becomes your life. Like Shane, who believed that we can't grow because growth equals negative cash flow. If you believe something like that, your business growth is basically on hold. The other reason why you're not solving the problem is that you don't have the right skill set. Shane doesn't understand the cash flow enough to solve the problem. He's missing that skill set. So what he needs to do is get help from someone who does know how to solve that problem. Soon after this conversation, Tony instructed Shane to get a CFO service, a Chief Financial Officer, to really investigate the cash flow so that it could be solved. And when Shane got to work on this cash flow problem, he discovered the problem wasn't growth. The problem was that he had the wrong person handling the finances. That's a big discovery. Move number 3, break through the limiting emotion. When Shane first mentioned the cash flow problem, you could see from his body language and his voice that He's developed an emotional hesitation about it, a fear. I mean, does he look energetic and strong here, or does he look shy and kind of embarrassed? And that's not a judgment, that's just a pattern. We all have it to some degree. For Shane, this is his particular personal emotional limit that's stopping him. So that needs to change. Tony asked Shane this question.
How do you feel, Shane, when you believe the thought that the more we grow, the less money we're going to have?
Stressed out.
Stress out? What else?
And you feel like, why are you putting all this time and effort into it?
Did you hear that? Shane's assumption that growth equals negative cash flow, that thought stresses him to the point that he's starting to opt out of his own business. You can't lead a team when you're in that state. He wants to grow, but he feels somehow the business can't. Can he grow his business when he's not fully committed to it? I doubt it. You see, the problem isn't the business. The problem is that he's accepted the unspoken assumptions. If Shane could unload this helplessness, what kind of energy would be freed up? Tony asked Shane.
So if that thought didn't exist, that growing equals no cash and no profit, you would feel what?
Empowered.
Yes. By the way, how many can hear the difference in his voice right now? Say aye. And in that empowered state, what would you go do? Tell me what you'd go do.
So this is a great question to ask anyone who's been emotionally stuck. If that thought didn't exist in you, how would you feel? And what are 3 things you'd go and do? The odds are the owner knows what the business needs, except they've been bogged down by unspoken assumptions, disempowering emotions, and the bad performance that comes with it. When Tony asked this question, Shane knew exactly what to say.
I would go sell the big insurance companies that I'm been afraid of selling because I didn't think we could handle it.
More to manage or less to manage for you in terms of that client-based management?
Depends whether or not I change my style.
Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen, give him a hand.
Now, this is what a business owner looks like when they've challenged their assumptions and dropped their emotional baggage. New ideas for growth are right there under the surface, and instead of saying that he can't handle it, Shane sees that he can make it happen.
I'd hire someone to do the most of what I do during the day today.
And what would you pay him?
As much as it took.
That's right. What do you think it would take to have somebody really impeccable to do the stuff you do during the day today?
80 or 90,000 a year.
That's right. So how much business how many clients or accounts would you have to get to pay for that person so you'd have freedom to do the more strategic things that really matter?
300 grand a year, which is a third of a giant client.
So a third. So you could go get one client and be free forever, and that's all it would take.
That's right.
In just a few minutes, Shane shared 2 ideas that will build his business to the legacy point. He can serve the large corporate clients who will provide much more income and free him up from a lot of marketing logistics. And he can use the proceeds of one of those clients to replace himself as the operator. This is the path of leverage in a business. He'll have even more energy and focus to work strategically to take the business to the next level. Now look at his body language. This is an owner with a plan for the future he wants, and who now has the emotional energy to carry it out. So the next time you hear someone tell you their limitations, take a second and watch their body language. A skillful coach can take someone from disempowered to full strength within a short conversation. So remember the 3 big moves. 1, find the unspoken assumption. 2, challenge that assumption. And 3, break through the limiting emotion. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you can use this to create positive results in your life as well as those around you. This is Mark Pescia signing off. Talk to you soon.
I know that if something is instantly gratifying, it will be repeated. All of us as adolescents remember that to be true. Anything that's immediately gratifying will be repeated. And the strongest force in the earth is something that affects your self-esteem. If you can make someone feel good about themselves, they will love you for it. They will be loyal to you. You talk about plugging into the energy in interpersonal dynamics. You get to be responsible for another person feeling better about themselves, and you've hit the jackpot. That's a dead-on bullseye in human relations. So I said to myself, that idea is clear and self-evident to every one of you in this room. Tony helps you realize that on a higher level. And that's the power of the Robbins experience. But I accept that idea myself. Tony and I talk about it all the time. Okay, if I accept and you accept the idea that anything that's instantly gratifying will be repeated, I say to myself, in the context of this building, if I could get my employees, one at a time, to reach out and talk and engage a guest on a very personal level, not a dealer talking to a blackjack player, but Annie talking to Mr. Jones. How are you today, Mr. Jones? Nice to see you again. Is there anything I can do for you? You feel like playing blackjack this morning? How's your wife? All of a sudden, forget the crystal chandeliers and the hand-woven carpets and the marble. It means nothing. All of a sudden, you're engaged with someone who cares about you. If I could arrange for my employees to find that gratifying and rewarding and increasing of their self-esteem, I would have plugged into the magic of business. And I finally, with the help of some other people, figured it out 4, 5, 6 years ago. And it changed my business and changed my life. It was a subject that I'm going to explain to you called storytelling. We took 900 supervisors at Wynn and put them in school. It took about 3 or 4 hours of training with some people from England. And we explained to them that we had a structure in the company that was very convenient. In every part of the hotel, which runs, as you know, 24 hours a day, we have a pre-shift meeting. If it's a restaurant, just before the restaurant opens, the maitre d' or the manager meets with the waiters and has a 10-minute session. The chef in the kitchen meets with his cooking line and has a session. Housekeepers on each floor meet with the inspectresses that are the supervisors on each floor of the hotel. Department by department, public area porters, there are collections of 12 to 15 people, or maybe as few as 7, with a line supervisor who gives them whatever it is they need to learn that day before they start their shift. We had a structure in place in the hotel that was very convenient. But instead of giving them inane or ordinary or mundane information, we changed the program to this. The supervisor said to the group of 8 or 10 or 12 people, has anybody got a story of something that happened yesterday or in the past week, special with a guest? And now I'm going to give you a true example. Bellman says to the bell captain, yeah, yesterday I checked in a man and his wife, older couple from California, and the bags came in, and I asked them to check and see if all the bags were there. And the woman let out a hoot. Oh my God, Herbie, I forgot the medicine bag. And that was a small hand case in which his medicine, he was a diabetic, and her medicine, they were in their 70s, were contained. Oh my God, Herbie, your insulin is in the bag. I left it on the front hall table when we got in the car. Oh my God, what are we going to do? We'll have to go back. I'll call the airport. Bellman tells the bell captain, I told him, just a minute, ma'am, where do you live? Pacific Palisades. Is there anybody at home at your house? Well, our housekeeper's there. I have a brother that lives in Encino. It's a Latino bellman. My brother, Hervé, lives in Encino. Why don't I give him a call? He can go over to your house and pick up the bag, and we'll manage to get it here for you. When do you need the medicine? It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She says, by 7 a.m. He says, don't you worry. If you can get that lady on the phone, tell her that Hervé Mendez is coming, and we'll get it here at 7 o'clock in the morning. You can do that? Yes, ma'am. She calls, he waits, she calls, tells the housekeeper, is the bag there? Yes, you left it on the front hall table. Hervé is coming to get it. Let him have it. Within the next hour, Okay, bye. You sure you can do it? Please, lady, enjoy dinner. Have a good time. Everything's going to be fine, I promise. Kid goes downstairs, tells the bellman on duty, his supervisor, that he's got to go get the bag. Jumps into his car, drives 5 hours to his brother's house, picks up the bag, turns around, and gets back to Las Vegas at 4 in the morning. Takes the bag to the bellman and says, make sure this gets to room 10-0, whatever it was. By 7 a.m., it's got the lady's medicine. I'm not done with the story. The relevance of this story, there's 1,000 of those a month. The supervisor's been trained. Everybody in the room says, wow, that's great, Mendez. We have an internet loop, a special internet thing in the hotel for the employees, and we have a sign shop, and we make signs for the back of the house. Immediately, a picture is taken of that bellman Mendez. His story is encapsulated in large print. We make paper signs and we decorate the back of the house. We publish Mendez's picture and story on the internet, and it's all over the employees' staff dining room, and everybody is reading about this bellman who's now a local hero. And his chest is out to here, and he's taken a bow, and he feels great because of the recognition he's getting from his peer group. Now, everybody else in the room with that bellman is looking for a story so they can tell it the next day. We found a key to making a single employee acting with a single guest instantly gratifying and increasing of their self-esteem. Now every employee in the hotel is looking for a story. The dealers are on their way down the hall to take a break at the staff dining room, and they see a lady and a man looking a little confused, and they walk over on break and say, you look like you're looking for something. Can I help you? And the lady says, well, we're looking for a meeting room called Lafitte. Oh, that's our ballroom. You're standing here by the B bar. You have to go down past Wing Lei, the Chinese restaurant. Wait a minute. Come on with me. I'll take you. And the dealer makes a detour for 5 minutes and takes this couple and shows them the Lafitte room. You think that hotel is ever going to be the same again to those two people, or that lady and her husband with the insulin? Hell, screw the chandeliers and the hand-woven fabrics and the onyx and the marble. It means nothing. They're going to tell their friends what an incredible place my hotel is. We've taken storytelling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year, to a great discipline in our company, giving people recognition for doing the one thing that creates a franchise that's stronger than anything I know about. That applies to your business. You've got to find those ideas that lift your staff, make them feel great about themselves in the context of your business. You do that, and I tell you that the results will astound you. First an idea, and then a program. First an idea, and then a building. It works every time. Thank you.
I'm in the business of empowering men to help make their women happy and fill their needs for joy and love by selling.
Or do you sell diamonds?
I do. And I also empower women to make themselves feel beautiful too. You can do it on your own. My question is, how do I get more people to call for help?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't want more people. I would want more of the right people.
The right people. People who are either thinking now or will be thinking about buying a diamond. Because people don't wake up one morning and say, I'm getting engaged, I'm buying a diamond. They give some thought to it, the process, and they do research.
So who is the best of those people? Because there are lots of people that could be thinking about buying a diamond. I'd like to get a gold grill and have a diamond right there just to be classy. So, you know,
people who are playing.
It is pretty classy.
People who are planning to get engaged or who are having anniversaries or want to upgrade a diamond, those are the people who
Which of those three is the most desirable to you?
Well, not necessarily the people who can spend the most, because that's not where necessarily the highest profit margin is, but the people who are currently thinking about getting engaged and need help.
Okay. So I would start immediately by only focusing on those with the campaign we're talking about specifically.
Well, I generate leads online. I don't have a shopping cart. I don't believe in it.
I think you're right, by the way. I think
it's
that's a smart call. I think that's a very good decision. Because, I mean, I would be sketched out by a diamond on the interwebs, you know. But anyway, so if that's what you're after, if you're after those dudes, I would find a way to reach just those guys.
I'm confident that when I get them to call me, I'll close them.
So really,
90%
the question should be, how do I get them to call me?
Right?
Yeah. So
what's the offer that would be powerful enough to get them to make that call? Because there's
That's
the
what
other
I'm
piece
trying
that
to
you said
figure
that
out.
I want to point out that was so critical, guys. I'm listening in an hour's conversation. You're not going to remember everything. But one of those pieces are, you didn't have to be a great marketer if you have the right what? Offer.
Well, I'm in addition to sending them the report, I'm offering them, let's say, a 5% discount on any piece of diamond jewelry that they'll buy, or a 10% discount on an engagement ring setting or wedding band if they buy the loose diamond from me as well. So that's what I'm working right now.
If you want them to call you, so you're trying to make the sale, you're trying to get the commitment for them to raise their hand as a buyer in the print, in the media, in the email, right? And that's very difficult. It's proving to be very difficult, right? So I would shift the offer to be like, look, I don't care when you're going to get married, but I'm feeling really, really generous right now, and marriage is a beautiful thing, and it's lovely, and blah, 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 whatever. You know? That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. If you call today, I will give you X discount whenever you choose to buy your diamond, because chances are, when they call you, they're already ready to buy the diamond, but they're being scared off by the 10% discount today because they're thinking, well, I'm going to have to buy today. But if you remove that pressure and you remove that fear, it gives them permission to call without that. Does that make sense?
It does. It allows me to... Actually, it's any time. My offer is not limited to if they call today.
So give them a reason to call today.
I can make it clearer that their offer is whenever they call.
Yeah, so give them a reason.
Or even if they have a friend call who mentions their name.
Well, we need to be very specific in the marketing, though. We need to be very specific. Call by X, and I will give you X discount plus X cool stuff anytime you ever buy a diamond from me. And if you buy, here's the irresistible offer. If you buy a diamond from a competitor, that's okay. I will send you as a congratulatory gift a gold chain for your wife to wear on her wrist on her wedding day, just as my show of appreciation for your thanks and calling me. I think
how many see the difference here? The secret, though, to this only works if, when you get that person, you can truly what?
Convert.
You got to deliver. If you can really deliver, you can make these offers. The very thing we did the other day. We made the offer. We just make it more and more and more compelling because you know you're going to deliver. And when you get that, that's how you stand out from anybody else, and that's how you get the phone ringing.
Well, humbly, I deliver. Delivery is not my problem.
Okay.
It's figuring out what the irresistible offer has to be and how to...
But how do you figure? How does anybody figure that out? By the way, Frank's going to go away. I'll go away. Everybody's going to go away. How are you going to find the most irresistible offer? How? Well, you do is test, but the first thing is you just brainstorm and find somebody before you even test anywhere else and say, would this make you call? How many would pick up the phone for a 5 to 10% discount? Raise your hand. One person out of 1,000, out of 900. How many pick up the phone if I can get a 10% discount forever? Just out of curiosity, anytime. See if that does it. How many pick up the phone if you say, listen, I'll evaluate any other diamond you have and I'll beat the price, or I'll send you a gold bracelet for your lady at some stage. Let me see a show of hands. Which, by the way, we just added something. Evaluate any other diamond you're putting out there. So now I've got a trusted expert who, if they don't deliver for me, I get something no matter what. And we just got 90% of the room to raise their hand. All we changed, how much does that cost, by the way, to make that change in his business?
Nothing.
Zero. Changing an offer costs nothing. This is where you make 1,000, 10,000% chance. We're talking about optimizing, right? This optimization is the part to go from leads to people that actually engage with you, right? The equivalent of the appointment or having the meaningful conversation. So all you've got to do is start to say, guys, I can change my business 500%, 1,000%, 30%, 40%. But what I understand is the greatest investment I've got is the X factor of my intelligence, my creativity, my sitting down and brainstorming. You don't have to be the genius to do it. You can hire somebody like Frank, you can bring somebody in to do it, or you can just sit down and go, you know what? I'm going to stop being a goddamn business operator who's running like crazy in my business. I'm going to step out and be the business owner and go, what will produce this result? That was the goal of these 5 days.